congratulations with Lucky. And
thank you so much.
And I have to ask about the title, and it covers it in the film, which that was one of my favorite scenes. It's like an eye opener to the way we sometimes, reference to lucky or you're so fortunate, but yet, yeah, we do hustle and work hard for things.
Yeah, definitely. We love the title. We actually fought for the title because, obviously there's a lot of other movies with that name and, it's not really like a Googleable title. But we really felt, it was the original title of from the script, and we just really felt like it sort of had all the different meanings and sort of ironic meanings as well, sort of tied in there, that it's like, she's not actually that lucky, right? Is she not? So we loved that it sort of had all this sort of like multiple meanings behind it, and so we really liked holding on to the title was really important to us. And then I like sort of putting the titles at the end of the movie, so it's sort of like an answer, right? Like if the movie is sort of asking questions, and then it's like a nice little bow on top of the movie. And the title Lucky just felt right to us from the beginning, and so we kept it.
I love it because a lot of times I kind of think about the title as I'm watching the film. Like, I don't know how lucky this girl is, unless it's because she's fighting the slasher every day like a routine.
Right.
I don't know, but
right. But maybe she is lucky, right? Because she survives, and so it sort of has all those different meanings sort of tied into it.
Yeah, those people that like those supernatural stuff. Yeah, sure, she's lucky.
Right, exactly.
True. So tell me, Natasha, what was it like working with Brea as like she's the writer, and then she's also starring as May? I mean, does that facilitate things?
Yeah, it was great. Brea wrote the script, obviously, and so we really established a lot of trust right at the beginning of the process, and I think that was really important. We already knew each other sort of as friends, socially, casually, and this was our first time working together, and so we just really made sure that we were on the same page creatively and really understood we were on the we were in agreement as far as like those big broad strokes of the story and sort of the tone and all of those big things. And once we had sort of established an open line of communication and sort of trust, it was really lovely because I think Brea could sort of step into the acting role, right? And then she didn't really have to worry so much about the other stuff. And so I think that was a really, once we had made some revisions to the script, nothing too crazy, she was able to step into the role of May and really focus on the performance side of things. So yeah, it was really like a very lovely experience working with her.
One of the things I enjoyed about the film was the music, how you kind of amped up the scenes, and it kind of took me back to those classic black and white films.
That's fun. Yeah.
So can you talk a little bit about that? What made you determine the sound?
Yeah, I worked with a really amazing composer named Jeremy Zuckerman on this film. He's incredibly talented score composer. And we knew we wanted to create really like two different sounds for the movie. So there's the sound that we sort of associate with May, which is a much more sort of like female vocal, softer sound. And then we have a much more percussive sound that is associated with the killer, with the villain. And sort of then playing around with how the two sounds met. Also using the music to, because the movie has a lot of sort of very funny aspects to it. It is sort of a satire more so than anything else. It's sort of like has slasher tropes and has horror tropes, but it's really at the end of the day, sort of making fun of the situation, and it's leaning into the absurdity of the situation. And so using the music to play off the humor of the scenes was also extremely important. And Jeremy really understood that. And we worked with him before we even started shooting. We were already having conversations with him, and he was already sort of building out demos. And that's really important to me, is to really bring the composer in as early as possible so that we're all sort of like growing together. The project is evolving at the same time. It's not like, oh, we do this, then we do this, then we do this. It's like everyone's kind of working simultaneously. And I think it ends up being a much more sort of interesting, integrated project in the end when you can approach it that way.
Oh, I learned something new. I always thought that the sound like that came later, but that makes sense.
Well, it often does. A lot of people work that way. I prefer to do it the other way. so so he wouldn't obviously the final versions are to the edit, right? But he's creating the sounds, he's creating the themes, he's sort of starting to write the music while we're still putting the movie together. So, but that's just sort of an unusual way of doing it.
Okay, I see. Now, I noticed something while watching the film, and I don't know if I'm just looking too much into it, but I felt like May and the slasher guy, several scenes, they seem to be in a very similar position.
Yes, that is intentional. That is completely intentional. Yes, you are correct.
Tell me why.
Yeah, so that's actually written, it's written that way. He is in a lot of ways a mirror of her. And we sort of thought about it in terms of like he is a mirror of her fears, of her anxieties. He's sort of a personification, manifestation of those fears and anxieties that she has. And so absolutely the fact that he's sort of like buttoned up in the way that she is, and even the fact, we cast someone who isn't like 6'5" huge dude, we cast someone who's a little bit closer to Brea in terms of his size and stature. And so absolutely, even one thing from the script is that his weapons always mirror her. So if she has a hammer, he has a hammer. If she has a knife, he has a knife. And all of that is completely intentional. And it's just that simple metaphor of, he's reflecting her, and that's sort of why he appears how he does and with the weapons he does.
Okay, I did see that, but it wasn't like obviously till the end, no spoilers, that I was like, oh, yeah. It was right. But the positions, I wasn't quite sure if that was also one of the hints.
Yeah. Yeah. It's meant to be sort of subtle. It's like, the movie really is meant to be watched multiple times. There's a lot of like little details in there that upon a second viewing, third viewing, hopefully people can get more and more like, oh, I didn't notice that the first time. Like, that's cool. That sort of enriches that experience. And yeah, him mirroring her is one of those little details that we really were excited about.
So was it on purpose to make this killer a little attractive from far away? Because a lot of things can be deceiving in life that telling you so, like they could be looking so good, but yet not good for you.
Yeah, we liked that a lot. We were like, oh, maybe he feels a little bit like, I kept thinking about like a guy that you might see in like the financial district or something. He's kind of like well dressed and he's got nice hair. And but then the purpose of the mask was that, from a distance, you might not even really see that he's wearing a mask, but you sort of get this sense like, oh, something is a little bit off, something is a little bit wrong. And for me, that just felt a lot more loyal to the themes of the movie, which have a lot to do with, the dangers and the threats that women live with. And it's often, it's not, people don't just wear a sign on them that say like, I'm dangerous, right. So I think it was really playing with that nuance and finding those little ways. He has like really nice shoes. he's again, like he does his hair. There's these little details that are meant to be just like 1 or 2 degrees off. Even the fact that the mask doesn't really look like a mask. It just looks like something is sort of different or off-putting, you sort of have a feeling like, oh, something's not quite right here. And that's absolutely intentional. Sort of as we were designing him, that was definitely at the forefront of our minds.
Okay. Yeah. Good. I like that.
It's different. Yeah, it's different. It's a little bit less like, whoa, this is a really scary situation, and more of a like bad feeling that you get in the back of your head.
Mm-hmm. True. Now, you mentioned a little bit of the humor, although it's like a thriller. I mean, it has Brea over like her writing. I mean, 12-hour shift was awesome. It was one of those. So
very funny.
Yeah, funny, but then there was also the events going on. So how was it to direct films like that?
Oh, it's a blast. I loved it. I mean, I really like projects that are sort of in between genres and stuff. So it's like, again, it's a horror movie, but it's really a satire, right? Like I love that sort of playing around with different genres. I think that's a really fun sandbox to play in. And I think I also just loved I love Brea's sense of humor, and I was very excited to come to it. And, you know, we cast a lot of sort of like comedy actors who have really good sense of timing and improv skills. All of that was just a joy to lean into, right? Because it was all already there in the script, and then it was just a matter of like, cool, now we can just dial this up to 11, you know.
Yeah. And was it the intention to have Brea play May since day one?
It was for me, but she did not write it for herself. So she wrote it just as a script to go out to cast and all of that. But I read it with her in mind. And so, you know, had to persuade her and make her feel like, yes, this is a good fit. But then once she was on board, I think she really got into the character and she started to see sort of, okay, I get this character. I get my entry point into playing her. So yeah, I read it with her in mind, but it was written many years ago for somebody else.
I see. Well, I'm glad I'm glad you got her in.
Yeah, no, she's brilliant. She's perfect. She's so funny and grounded, and she's just fun to watch. And I knew that I felt very comfortable knowing that the whole movie could be designed around her because I knew she could carry it. So yeah, I was very happy that she ended up doing it.
And it is like she's a complete other person. I mean, no bangs. Bangs for her.
Right? Yeah, it is very different from who she is. She's a very relaxed person, and May is sort of like very buttoned up and type A. And but I think that was fun for her. I think it was fun for her to sort of reach and do a very different character also than we've seen her do before. So that's a lot of fun.
True. So it's what's one of the scenes that were challenging when it come to shooting?
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot. I would say, like, you know, overall, we just didn't have a lot of time and money. It's a very small movie. So the more like the bigger scenes, so the parking lot, for example, but that was a lot of fun. I would say almost like making sure that all the stuff in the house didn't get boring, I would say is the number one, you know, finding different ways to photograph the house, to make the house sort of change and seem interesting, and like it's evolving and changing, so we don't just like get bored that we're in this same house for so long. That was one of the big challenges, and we really pushed ourselves to try and make it feel fresh and different every time we come back to it. So that was probably a big challenge for us.
Well, that's great. And to start wrapping up, is there something you can share that you're working on or already done?
Yeah, Brea and I are actually developing 2 projects together right now. We really enjoyed our collaboration, so we're working on some new stuff. One is an original concept, and one is an adaptation of a short story. And then right now I am adapting a short story written by horror author Joe Hill. So I'm adapting one of his. It's sort of a gothic, dark sort of gothic horror movie.
Oh,
so that's what we're up to now.
we have more of you to look forward to.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you for your time, and we're pretty much talking about Lucky because it's going to be available right in VOD, DVD, and digital August 3rd.
That's correct. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you for supporting the film. Bye.